had a 2.5 GPA at Purdue, right? But as long as you had that 2.5, right, they were going to give you that diploma, and guess what? No one ever asked me what my GPA was after that. You know, it just didn't matter, okay? But before I graduated, I had been an intern for a United States Senator, right? I did all this charity work. I had raised $400,000 for Habitat for Humanity and Tippecanoe. I had just blown it out of the water, right? When I walked across the stage, I had ropes and awards. And the day after I graduated, right, you can ask my father because he went with me, I had to turn in my key to my office, right? I was the only undergraduate on Purdue's campus who had his own office and his own assistant paid for by Purdue because of the things I did while I was on campus. So now you kind of know, like, if I was like that now, I mean, back then, that's why I'm like this now. I was always a person who did more. Maybe I wasn't 150% at any one thing, but I did things so big that when I left Purdue, it was kind of like, you know, one of the deans, when I turned the key, said, if you ever want to come back, graduate school, you just call me and you're in, right? Don't worry about anything, any program you want. And so that's what I walked across stage to. I'm like, man, I tore it up, I did it great, blah, blah, blah. And that doesn't matter if your story ain't like that, because then all of a sudden life hit me in the face, and I think it did for a lot of you guys. So I go out, I'm graduated, right? I'm like, oh, I did all this good stuff. And I start, you know, interviewing, right? And I start going out and, you know, interviewed with, you know, this bank and that bank and blah, blah, blah. And you know what's funny? Not one of them offered me a job. You know what I mean? Not one of them. I went through like 16 interviews with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Anybody do that after college? Right? They used to be big hiring. And at the very end, I thought, okay, I'm going to get the job, right? I'm going to be a manager. By the way, everybody's a manager there, even the guy who washes the cars, right? And then they said, hey, we checked your driving record. We can't give you a job because you're too aggressive. So I'm working at Chumley's, right? I don't even know, is Chumley's still downtown Broadway?
What's Chumley's?
There you go, it's not there no more, right? So I was working at Chumley's, right? And that whole summer after I graduated, I worked at Chumley's. I was just a door guy, right? Because wouldn't I be the greatest door guy ever? Seriously, right? I mean, I'm just doing a clown and have a good time, right? And then one day, it's about 3 in the morning. I think I'm doing something behind the bar, like cleaning up or whatever, right? And I look up, and there's my pastor father standing on the other side of the bar. And he looks at me, and I'm like, what's up? It's like 3 in the morning, right? And he goes, I did not think this is what you were going to do after you did everything you did. And he turns around and walks out. Right? Now, there's a few times my dad has called me out like that. Usually it happened with a click. You know what I mean? Yo, Dad, I'm in Terre Haute. My car broke down. Why are you in Terre Haute? Well, I went down to Evansville to see so-and-so. You go to Purdue University and you drove 300 miles to see one girl? Yeah. That happened. Right? Sometimes you just got to make them grow up. But here's the thing. Right? All of a sudden I found myself in the car industry, and that's a whole other story in itself, right? Because I couldn't find anything else I really wanted to do. I never said, man, I want to go into the car business, right? But I did, and I got in the car business. You know what? There were some good times, and there were some bad times, right? You know, I was young, and so what do young guys like to do? We like to go out, you know, chase the ladies, have a good time, you know what I mean? But we're really not thinking about the future. Now, in the back of my head, it was there, right? In the back of my head, I was thinking about the future, but really what my consciousness was about today, right? So during that time I was in the car business, I was in the car business a long time, right? Anytime it got tough, right, I'd stop focusing on my career there, and I'd start seeing if I could find something else, right? And so I'd go out and maybe try to get an interview with somebody and like go interview at a bank again, right? I cannot believe how many banks I interviewed at and none of them hired me. They messed up. They messed up, right? And so I would go and look, and you know what? Finally, this bank said, hey, why don't you come on board, right? And I was like, man, I'm probably going to do that. And now I was in the car business at the time, right? And I remember going back to the lot, and I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to quit and go work at this bank. And I was just going to be a personal banker. You know those jobs they give people who are young, right? But something happened that day, and I don't exactly remember what it was, but I ended up not doing the bank. I ended up staying, you know? And 2 days later, right, I got promoted in the car business. And all of a sudden, I went from just a person who was like 100% commission, all on your own. And here's the difference about the car business. When you're 100% commission in the car business, you can't get more clients you are stuck on the lot hoping people pull in. Do you see what I mean? So like, I remember back in the time, I never ran a Toyota store, but all my friends who were at the Toyota store, people quit buying Toyotas because they started exploding or the brakes quit working somewhere in California or something. And then everybody got freaked out and no one would buy a Toyota. And so these guys who had a good living for years, all of a sudden no one would come buy one. And they couldn't do anything about it. They'd call customers, hey, you should trade in your car. They're like, click. You know, right? The brakes don't work. I don't want a new one. Right? But I remember staying and I got promoted. Right? And then from there, you know, my career really kind of advanced. So what I realized is that, you know, even though I was going to walk away, I was actually closer than I thought to getting what I needed. Do you guys see what I'm saying?